You ever have someone hurt you so badly it shakes you to your core? Betrayal, lies, rejection, it stings. And what's the first thing we want to do? Get even, prove a point, show them they messed with the wrong person. But listen, revenge doesn't come from shouting back. It doesn't come from posting cryptic messages or trying to make them feel what you felt. No, the real revenge, it's in your comeback. It's in how you rise. Because the best revenge is becoming so good, so powerful, and so fulfilled that they can't touch you anymore. That's what we're talking about today. Let's go. When someone hurts you deeply and unexpectedly, the first instinct is often to react. Maybe it's to lash out, to expose them, to scream or cry or post about it. That reaction comes from pain, and pain doesn't like to sit still. It demands action, any action, to feel like you've taken back some control. But here's the truth. If you react while you're still bleeding, you only end up hurting yourself more. You say things you can't take back. You act from emotion instead of clarity. You give the person who hurt you more power, not less, because your reaction proves they still control how you feel. Healing has to come first, not for them, not to look good to anyone else, but for you. Because revenge rooted in pain doesn't feel satisfying. It just drags the wound out longer. Healing is what creates space between the hurt and your response. It's what lets you breathe instead of explode. When you're focused on healing, you stop needing them to acknowledge your pain. You stop chasing apologies or recognition. You start doing the inner work of understanding what happened, what it triggered in you, and what it's teaching you about who you are and what you need. The reason healing is the foundation of true revenge is because unhealed people move through life with baggage. And that baggage doesn't just stay tied to the person who hurt you. It bleeds into new relationships, new opportunities, and your self-image. You start to believe you're broken, that you're not enough, or that you need to prove something. But healing says, I don't need to prove anything. I just need to come back to myself. It takes courage to heal. It means sitting in silence with your pain and letting it move through you. It means not numbing it with distractions, validation, or petty retaliations. Healing is often invisible. No one claps for it. But it's powerful because once you've healed, the things that once triggered you no longer hold the same charge. You don't flinch when their name comes up. You don't craft mental comebacks or imagine revenge scenarios. You're not acting from anger anymore. You're acting from alignment. Healing also gives you perspective. When you're in pain, your world narrows down to a tunnel. Everything looks like betrayal, like loss, like the end. But healing opens you up to a bigger picture. It helps you see the difference between what you deserved and what you accepted. It teaches you boundaries, self-worth, and resilience. And the more you heal, the less you need to be seen by the people who hurt you, because you're seeing yourself clearly now. Most people skip healing because it's uncomfortable. It feels slow. It doesn't feed the ego. But skipping healing is like building a house on broken ground. You might think you're fine, you might look successful or happy from the outside, but inside there's still a storm. And that storm always finds a way to show up through anger, bitterness, distrust, or fear. That's why healing is the first and most powerful step toward real revenge. Not the loud, dramatic kind, but the kind that speaks for itself. Think about it like this. What's more powerful? Posting a rant online or walking into a room years later, unbothered, successful, and at peace? The first one might feel good for a second, but the second one leaves a lasting impact. That's the kind of revenge that can't be faked. It's rooted in real work, and people feel it when you've done that work. They may not say it out loud, but trust me, they notice. There's something magnetic about someone who has healed, someone who doesn't carry bitterness, who doesn't need to prove a thing, who just is. So if you've been hurt, really hurt, don't rush to get even. Don't try to outshout the betrayal. Sit with it. Feel it, understand it, and then start doing the slow, often unglamorous work of healing. Journal, get support, set boundaries, cry when you need to, say no more often, rebuild your self-trust, because that's where the power is. That's where your comeback begins. And when you rise from that clear, confident, and unbothered, you won't need revenge. You'll be the revenge. Reclaiming your power through growth is one of the most transformational things you can do after being hurt. When someone betrays, disrespects, or abandons you, there's a shift inside you. You feel powerless. Maybe you question your worth, your judgment, or your ability to trust again. You replay conversations in your mind, wondering what you missed. That feeling, that loss of power, isn't just about what they did to you. It's about what you start believing about yourself because of it. And this is where growth becomes your rescue mission, because growth is how you take your power back, not from them, but for yourself. Growth doesn't mean pretending you're fine. It means choosing to rise anyway. It means turning the pain into fuel instead of letting it drain you. You start asking better questions, not why did they do this to me, but what can I learn from this? What does this reveal about what I need, what I tolerate, what I ignore? That shift is everything. It's how you stop letting their actions define your future. You stop being a character in their story and start becoming the author of your own. The key to reclaiming your power is understanding that you're not broken. You're not weak because you were hurt. You're human. You had hope, you had trust, you cared, and none of that makes you foolish. In fact, those are strengths. The growth happens when you decide those qualities aren't going to die because of one bad chapter. They're going to evolve. You might love more carefully, trust more intentionally, but you're not going to shut yourself down. You're going to rebuild smarter, stronger, deeper. Growth is what shifts you from victim to creator. And that's not to say what happened to you didn't matter. It did. It may have changed everything. But if you stay stuck in what they did, you lose sight of what you can do now. Reclaiming your power is about action. Maybe it's going back to school, starting a business, saying yes to therapy, saying no to toxic relationships. Maybe it's waking up every day and doing one small thing that reminds you that your life is still yours, that your story didn't end when they walked away or when the pain hit. That chapter hurt, yes, but it didn't finish the book. One of the most powerful realizations in growth is that no one is coming to save you. It's not their apology that will heal you. It's not their regret that will make it better. It's your decision to stop giving them control over how your life feels. That's power. The moment you decide this hurt me, but it won't define me, you start gaining ground. You start standing taller, walking differently, thinking bigger. You start stepping into who you were always capable of becoming, but maybe forgot for a while because of the pain. Growth isn't loud. It's not always visible. Sometimes it's just you, alone in your room, refusing to text them. It's choosing to go to the gym instead of spiraling. It's setting a boundary that feels uncomfortable but right. It's reading the book, making the call, sending the resume, taking the risk. It's a series of small decisions that say, I choose me. And over time, those small steps add up. They compound. And before you know it, you've outgrown the version of you that was stuck in heartbreak. You look back and it's not bitterness you feel, it's pride, because you did something with the pain. You used it. You rose from it. And here's the truth. People can sense growth. They may not admit it, but they see it. They feel it when you walk into a room, when you speak with clarity, when you're no longer chasing validation or approval. You've got your power back, not because they gave it, but because you took it. And that's what growth does. It rebuilds your identity from the inside out. It doesn't depend on circumstances or people. It comes from you deciding that this chapter is going to make you better, not bitter. So if you're sitting in pain right now, know this. Your healing is not passive. It's an act of power. And growth is the tool that helps you reclaim it. You don't need to become a new person. You need to return to the strongest parts of yourself. The parts that know how to get back up. The parts that are still dreaming, still hoping, still fighting for something better. They never left you. They just got buried under the noise of the hurt. But they're still there. And growth is how you bring them back to life. You reclaim your power, not by being louder, meaner, or tougher, but by being so rooted in your evolution that nothing and no one can shake you anymore. Growth is quiet revenge. It's the kind that builds empires, peace, and unshakable confidence. And once you've grown past who you were when they hurt you, they can never touch you the same way again. Silence is one of the most underrated, misunderstood, and powerful responses you can give when someone hurts you. In a world that rewards noise, clapbacks, subtweets, dramatic exits, choosing silence can feel unnatural, even weak. But real strength isn't about volume, it's about control. And silence is pure, unshakable control. When you stop reacting, when you stop explaining yourself to people who don't value you, when you stop giving your energy to those who never deserved it in the first place, you start reclaiming your peace. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Most people want closure. They want to be heard, seen, understood. It's natural. You think, if I could just explain how much this hurt me, maybe they'd get it. But here's the harsh truth. People who hurt you rarely give you the closure you think you need. And the more you try to pull it out of them, the more power you give them over your healing. Silence, on the other hand, is your declaration that you no longer need anything from them. Not an apology, not an explanation, not a reaction, nothing. When you choose silence, you shift the focus off of them and back onto yourself. Instead of investing energy into confrontation or revenge, you redirect that energy inward toward your growth, your goals, your future. Silence allows space for reflection. It's where clarity lives. You begin to see things more objectively. You begin to realize how much of your energy was being drained by conversations that were never going to lead to understanding, just more confusion and pain. Silence gives you the ability to separate your emotions from your identity. You can feel the hurt without becoming the hurt. It's also important to understand that silence isn't the same as avoidance. Avoidance is fear-based. Silence is power-based. Avoidance means you're afraid to face something. Silence means you faced it and decided it's no longer worth your time. There's a massive difference. One keeps you small, the other frees you. Choosing silence doesn't mean you're ignoring reality. It means you've accepted it, processed it, and decided that it no longer deserves front-row access to your life. Silence is also an incredible boundary setter. When you remove your voice from toxic dynamics, you create space between you and the dysfunction. You're no longer available for arguments that go in circles. You're no longer showing up for people who don't show up for you. You're no longer spending hours crafting messages to someone who doesn't care enough to understand them. Your silence says what your words no longer need to. I'm done. And the beauty is, people notice. They may pretend they don't. They may accuse you of being cold or distant. But deep down, silence speaks to them in a way noise never could. It makes them reflect. It forces them to confront the weight of your absence. See, when you engage in drama, even if you're winning the argument, you're still keeping the connection alive. You're still in the ring. Silence is you stepping out of the ring altogether. You're not playing anymore. And that creates a very different kind of impact. There's a kind of revenge in silence. But not the petty kind. It's not about making them feel bad. It's about proving, mostly to yourself, that your peace is more important than your pride. You're not seeking revenge through noise or chaos. You're showing that your evolution speaks louder than any confrontation ever could. Silence becomes a mirror. It reflects their actions back to them without you having to say a word. And here's the part most people don't understand until they've lived it. Silence heals you. When you stop explaining, defending, or begging, you start listening to yourself. You start hearing the parts of you that were silenced during the chaos, the parts that were ignored, dismissed, or broken down by someone else's carelessness. Your own voice gets louder when theirs disappears. And that's how you start to rebuild, quietly, strongly, on your own terms. Choosing silence doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you've decided that not every emotion deserves a performance. Some things deserve to be felt in private, processed with intention, and released without ever being broadcast. That is the mark of maturity. That is emotional intelligence. That is self-respect. So the next time someone tries to bait you into an argument, or you feel the urge to defend your worth to someone who couldn't see it, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what would silence say right now? Because sometimes silence says everything. It says you've outgrown the need to be understood by people who were committed to misunderstanding you. It says you're choosing peace over chaos, dignity over drama, power over petty. The silence isn't about shutting down. It's about rising up, quietly, intentionally. And when the noise fades, when the dust settles, when the drama dies out, what remains is your clarity, your strength, and your unshakable sense of self. Let that be your revenge. Success is the ultimate clapback. Not because it proves your haters wrong, but because it proves you right. After someone hurts you, it's easy to get stuck in the pain. The betrayal plays on repeat in your head. You start measuring yourself by what they did, by what they said you lacked, by how they treated you. That mindset is a trap because it keeps your focus on them instead of on you. It makes your healing about showing them something instead of becoming something for yourself. But when you start building success, not just financially, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you shift the story. You stop being the person who is broken and you become the person who rose. And that kind of rise, that's power. Success is quiet at first. It starts in the small decisions. Waking up early to take care of yourself, saying no to what drains you, saying yes to your goals, making time for growth, for healing, for habits that build you up instead of break you down. You start gaining momentum, not from anger, but from purpose. And here's the key: you don't chase success just to be seen by the person who hurt you. You chase it because you remember who you are. You remember what they tried to make you forget, that you are worthy, capable, resilient, and more powerful than they ever realized. That's what makes success so beautiful. It's not about them. It's about you getting back in the driver's seat of your life. And the best part, you don't have to say a word. You don't have to explain anything to anyone. People see it. They see your glow up. They feel your energy shift. They notice the way you carry yourself differently, the way you don't engage in drama, the way you show up for yourself with intention. You don't need to announce it. Your evolution speaks for itself. Success doesn't erase the pain. It transforms it. It turns the lowest points of your life into the foundation for something new. You look back, and what once felt like destruction now looks like direction. You wouldn't have made the changes you made if you hadn't been pushed. You wouldn't have leveled up if the pain hadn't cracked you open. And that realization hits different because it means that what was meant to break you actually built you. It means you made something beautiful out of something brutal. But let's be real. Success takes work. It's not just about looking good on the outside. It's about doing the uncomfortable inner work. It's about owning your part in what you allowed, forgiving yourself for not walking away sooner, letting go of who you were when the hurt happened, so you can become who you're meant to be next. That part is quiet. No one sees it. No one claps for it. But it's what makes your success real. Because when the external wins start showing up, career growth, healthier relationships, inner peace, they're rooted in something solid. They're not just a performance. They're a reflection of deep transformation. The truth is, not everyone will be happy for your success, especially the ones who tried to break you. They may ignore it, downplay it, pretend it doesn't matter, but that's not your problem because you didn't rise for their validation. You rose because you refused to stay small. You refused to be defined by someone else's inability to see your value. You chose to rewrite your story. That's what makes success the ultimate revenge. Not revenge that's bitter or spiteful, but revenge that's dignified, empowered, rooted in self-love. It's the kind of revenge that doesn't just say, I survived you. It says, I thrived after you. And that message echoes louder than any argument ever could. You want to know what really gets under the skin of someone who tried to hurt you? Seeing you completely unfazed, seeing you laugh again, love again, live again without any trace of bitterness. That's a flex they can't touch. That's success. And it's not just about material wins. It's about peace, confidence, direction, the kind of life that feels so good you forget you ever needed closure because your future is too bright to keep looking back. And let's be clear, success isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about showing up for yourself every single day, even when it's hard, even when no one's watching, even when you're still healing, especially then, because that commitment to yourself is what builds unshakable confidence. The kind that doesn't need applause, the kind that doesn't need revenge, the kind that becomes the revenge. So, if you've been hurt, betrayed, or dismissed, remember this: you don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to fight to prove your worth. Let your actions speak. Let your healing shine. Let your success be the answer to every question they never bothered to ask. Because when you rise on your own terms, with your own vision, nothing and no one can take that away from you. That's the real victory. The final and most powerful revenge isn't loud, dramatic, or public. It's peace. Not the kind of peace you fake on social media while still breaking on the inside. Real peace. The kind that doesn't need validation, explanations, or attention. The kind that comes when you no longer need to win, prove, chase, or even remember the people who tried to hurt you. Peace is the moment you realize you've outgrown the pain. You've released the need for revenge because the weight of carrying that story simply isn't worth it anymore. You're free, and nothing rattles those who hurt you more than watching you truly, fully free. After betrayal, rejection, or emotional harm, your nervous system doesn't want peace. It wants closure. It wants justice. It wants some kind of balance between the pain you felt and what the other person should feel in return. But chasing that balance becomes a trap. You spend your days replaying the past. You imagine confrontations. You wait for karma. All the while, you're handing them space in your head and in your heart. The irony is you think you're punishing them by holding on, but really you're just torturing yourself. Peace doesn't come from getting even. It comes from letting go. It comes from waking up one morning and realizing you don't want to carry their actions anymore. You don't want to keep rehearsing the same pain. You don't want to keep being the version of yourself that was hurt. Peace is a decision. You don't stumble into it. You choose it. You decide that your energy is sacred, that your mind deserves clarity, that your future deserves more than the echo of their past behavior. And it's not easy, because peace requires forgiveness, not always of the person, but of yourself. You have to forgive yourself for staying too long, for ignoring the red flags, for trusting someone who wasn't capable of handling your heart. That's where real peace begins. Not in punishing them, but in releasing yourself. You stop needing to rewrite the past and start focusing on the present, on what you can control, on what you're building next, on how you want to feel every day, not who you want to get back at. Peace shows up in the way you stop talking about them, the way your body stops reacting at the sound of their name, the way you start laughing again, not because everything's perfect, but because the tension has left your spirit. Peace shows up when you look in the mirror and finally see yourself, not the version of you that was hurt, not the version that was angry, but you whole again. And when you have peace, your life changes in ways you never expected. You stop attracting chaos. You stop engaging with people who thrive on emotional games. You're no longer addicted to the highs and lows of dysfunctional relationships. You crave calm, stability, clarity. And the more you build that life, the more you protect your peace, the less interested you become in revenge. Not because they didn't deserve consequences, but because your soul deserves freedom more. People often think peace is passive, that if you're calm, you've somehow let them get away with it. But that's the mindset of someone still in pain. Peace is not passive, it's powerful. It takes strength to let something go when everything inside you wants to fight. It takes discipline to stop yourself from texting back, from responding to the bait, from proving your side. Peace is what happens when you've taken your power back and no longer feel the need to explain it. And make no mistake, your peace is a message. It tells the world you've healed. It tells the people who doubted you that you are no longer in survival mode. You're thriving, you're grounded, and you're unavailable for anything less than what honors your peace. That silence, that calm, that joy, it speaks louder than any outburst ever could. What hurts someone who wanted to see you broken? Seeing you soft again, but not weak. Seeing you kind again, but not naive. Seeing you open again, but guarded by boundaries. That's the full circle moment. Not only did you recover, you rose higher. You evolved, and you did it without needing to destroy them. You did it by choosing peace again and again. So if you're sitting in pain right now, still tempted by revenge, still waiting for karma to spin the block, ask yourself, is it worth your peace? Is that satisfaction worth your sleep, your growth, your joy? Probably not, because when you get real peace, the deep kind that can't be shaken, nothing else compares. You wake up lighter, you breathe easier, you live better. Peace isn't just the final revenge. It's the reward. It's what happens when you've done the work, when you've cried, healed, evolved, and finally let go. That's when you win. Not by what you say, not by what they see, but by how free you feel. That's the revenge they can never take away. So here's the truth. The best revenge isn't screaming, fighting, or trying to prove your worth to people who couldn't see it in the first place. The best revenge is building a life so full of purpose, peace, and power that their actions no longer even register. You rise not to show them who you've become, but because you remember who you are. You go silent not to punish them, but to protect your energy. You succeed not to get their attention, but to reclaim your direction. And you find peace, deep, unshakable peace, not because they made things right, but because you did. You took the pain and turned it into growth. You stopped waiting for closure and started creating your future. That's the real revenge. And it's not loud, it's not petty, it's powerful, and it's yours.